What's the first thing that comes to your mind when you think of automation and robotics?
If you are not using the technology, you're gonna get left behind. Within 5 years, the level of interaction human-machine is just gonna explode.
Meet Sergio Garcia, Automation and Innovation Specialist at TALKE USA, with 15 years of PLC and automation experience. He's the man behind Project Optimus, TALKE's push toward a fully autonomous warehouse, and Project Lineside, an AI vision system that inspects every bag and pallet at speeds no human team could match.
So what you're saying is that even with more people focusing on that task, we would not reach 100% coverage.
To have good coverage, you will need at least 20 times the workforce we have currently at site. If you cannot learn something, it's not because there's no material or resources to do so, it's because you don't want to.
The effect on the workforce is really going into a direction where we are going to remove the mundane tasks. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. What will be happening is that people will have
What's the first thing that comes to your mind when you think of automation and robotics? Is it sleek robots, perfectly efficient systems, and everything running like clockwork? Now step into a chemical logistics operation on the Gulf Coast. On a day-to-day basis, you work with high stakes, hazardous materials, and very little room for error. Automation is here, but not always how you would expect. And getting it right is much more complicated than flipping a switch. The technology is already here, it's true. The real question is who's actually making it work. Pull up a chair. I'm your host, Alexander Boehm. Let's talk about it. On today's episode, we are talking about automation, innovation, and the growing role of robotics in chemical logistics. What does it actually look like to modernize operations in an industry where safety, precision, and reliability are non-negotiable? From automated systems to robotics on the ground, technology is starting to reshape how chemical logistics gets done, but not always in the ways people expect. No one lives closer to this than Sergio Garcia, who works hands-on with automation and innovation across TALKE's operations on the Gulf Coast. Sergio sees where technology is delivering real impact, where it's overhyped, and what it actually takes to make it work in the real world. Welcome to Talk About, Sergio. Let's get into it.
Hi, Alex. How you doing this evening?
I'm good. Thank you very much. How are you?
Doing great.
Awesome. Well, when we talk about automation and chemical logistics, what does that actually include today? What kind of processes do you see being automated?
There is a lot of processes across the board that is getting automated, from administrative works, typing emails, to everything on the production floor. Automation is very vast and it has a lot of applications. That's what is very interesting on. Whenever I joined TALKE 7 years ago, I remember a person asked me a question, Koi, and he was like, "What are you doing here?" And my answer that day was, "My job is to look at what you do. How can I do automation to make your work faster, safer, and more efficient?"
That's awesome. You just said you have been with us 7 years. From your experience over the last 7 years, in which areas have we made already progress on the automation side? Where did we improve, and then maybe we talk a little bit about what's next.
Correct. So what we have done so far, I think that if you remember, whenever I got brought up, we were running 1800 bags per hour, that was our 1800, 1850. And nowadays we reach all the way to 2200. And we have accomplished this by automating stuff at the line, which are really microprocesses that happens in a daily basis. In the introduction, you talk about shining robots and automation. I love to think about it that way, but a vast majority of that is it in the details. Like, just to give you an example, whenever we had the reject station and you have a pileup, then you need to take out the bags, and then before you need to go and press a button. Well, we took out the bags, we put a timer, and we automate the pressing a button. Then now the PLC automatically restart after a certain time. So those 3 seconds here and there is what it give us the opportunity of gain more time so we can reach a higher run time.
And that's awesome. Now looking a little bit into the future, when people hear about robots in the industry, they actually might think about something very futuristic. Can you tell us on what kind of robotics we have in use today already?
In use today, we already run a demo from an AMR, which is a project that we have ongoing. We're about to do the implementation phase, which is very exciting. And yes, people talk about robot and they think about the Jetsons or something very sophisticated. But whenever this project happened, actually the AMR stands for Automated Mobile Robot. And just whenever you put the robot word into the equation, people one get afraid because they think something like Terminator, first of all. And it's valid because that's what, Hollywood and the TV has sell to us. But whenever I was talking to different people about we being a robot, everybody was so excited to see it. And then whenever we have the AMR, they say it's just a forklift. And it is just a forklift. And so, yes, whenever you go to trade shows, you can see the Boston Dynamic robots, like the robot dogs. And there's some stuff out there, but the automation that we're having currently in the industry is very alike of the machines that we currently have. So there's not much change in that perspective.
Great. Yeah, you talked already about AMRs and what it stands for. We have been working here at TALKE for some time already on an AMR project called Project Optimus. Can you tell us a little bit more about that project?
Sure. So the need of this project started whenever we were evaluating different downtimes that we have in our lines. One of the downtimes that we have is that we were not fitting raw material in ways of pallets on time of the line. This created that because we didn't have the raw material on time at the right moment, that created downtime, which will be giving us more production. So that's where how can we introduce how can we have raw material on time? We explore different options, conveyors, and different ways to do it. And but the more flexible approach that we thought about it was with AMRs, which, like I just mentioned, they're just forklifts. But for the mundane people, we can say there is a forklift Roomba, which they do. They have exactly the same technology. They're lighter. They do mapping like the Roomba does, and then you will do. What we will do is that we will connect these robots to the PLCs, which are the brains of our machines. It will tell them when they start being low in pallets, when they need to deliver the handshakes. So that will with this we will make sure that we always have the raw material that we needed so we can run consistently.
Great. Obviously, in our industry, we always look into the safety aspect as well. So, what do you think is the implementation of an AMR in the operation going to do to that part of the operation?
I think from the safety aspect of it as well is that AMR is gonna come in play for repetitive tasks, meaning they're always gonna be going from point A to point B, hundreds of tasks of times a day. So why did I say that this is safer? Is because a machine do not get bored out of doing the same task over and over. A machine don't get it sleepy. So I think that taking repetitive tasks to people will be safer because in my personal point of view, I don't like to do repetitive stats all the time. I think I can do certain things for 2 or 3 times, but the 4 or 5 times I'm already bored. And the issue with this is that the level of focus of engagement of the safety task and what you're doing more that you are driving a rolling machine, a forklift that can cause is very heavy and it can cause very high damages and it can be honest, we can kill a person with this type of machines. So taking the responsibility of a person to be guiding or operating these vehicles, I think that is gonna have a very high impact in the safety side of the operations.
Yeah, that sounds like it's going to definitely improve the overall safety in that area.
Mhm.
One of the things Talke and you have been working on is the project line side. Can you talk a little bit about what line side is going to do?
Sure. The Lionside project is a project where we are utilizing AI technology so we can evaluate pictures. In the industry, they call them vision systems. Vision systems that have been running for the longest, like 20, 30 years. This is not new technology. What is very new about this is that vision systems typically work very well on hard packaging. The difference between that type of vision system and the one that we're implementing is that we're inspecting flexible package that is way more hard to inspect or to evaluate. So that's why the AI is coming up in place. This project is a mix of emotions because it will have a big impact in now we're going to be able to inspect every single bag, every single pallet, every single unit that we do. So that's in the aspect of quality wise, that's great. What is not so great about this project is a project that is behind the curtain, is something that you cannot touch, is something that you cannot see. we'll have some screens, and then yes, we'll have the AI evaluating and showing some results here and there. Hey, this pallet is bad, so we will be able to fix pallets promptly. We'll be able to detect issues the way that we used to do it right now. But it's not so excited as having a robot running around the plant because you cannot actually see it. So that's where that technology AI, whenever you're using AI, utilizing it in your phone to ask questions, so it's very interactive. This project is very good in the business case perspective. We will have great quality, we'll reduce reworks, but in the way that you interact with it is not so excited like the rest of them.
Okay, so there's no robot
There's no
involved.
robots, boring.
So you just said that this is going to move the operation to 100% QC of every single bag. What is being done today to ensure the quality is inspected?
So today we have 2 inspectors per shift, 4 shifts in total, but we have 5 different packaging lines. And as I mentioned earlier in the episode, we're currently reaching the speeds of 2,200 bags per hour times 5 lines. So the reality is that there is no way human possibly we can inspect every bag, every pallet with 2 QC inspectors. If we would like to do 100% quality, we will need at least 10 inspectors per shift times 4 shifts. So the manpower that we will need to achieve this, it will be humongous. And even so, we also just talk about repetitive tasks. Imagine have a 12-hour shift, seeing 2,200 bags going into a conveyor. I think the focus span from a person will be 20 minutes. The rest of that, then you will not be able to detect a defect because then you're just watching back to back to back. So I guess after 30 seconds of watching that, your mind will be in Disneyland, or I don't know.
So what you're saying is that even with more people focusing on that task, we would not reach 100% coverage.
I don't think so. I think it's literally impossible. To have good coverage, you will need 4 times that. You will need to be rotating people every hour or every 30 minutes. So the way to actually accomplish what we're accomplishing with AI today's, it will be, we will need at least 20 times the workforce that we have currently at site.
Okay. You mentioned Project Lineside is not that exciting for you because a lot of the process is taking place behind the curtain.
Yes.
What do you think is the point of view of our customers?
I think our customers are very excited as well because the level of QC that we're going to reach is going to be great. For the things being behind the curtain, I don't think that our customers also, they're very preoccupied or very worried about this. We have thousands and thousands of processes going behind the curtain. It's a fairly statement that I've been doing this for 15 years in the PLC side automation, so the programming logic controlling of it. And all of these processes, nobody sees them. Nobody are auditing each second, each decision that the machine takes. So in the line side prospect, it will be exactly the same. It's something that a computer is processing, is evaluating, is showing results. So I think that just to a handful of people, it's interesting to know how actually the process work. Me including, I'm not really, I like processes and I like to see the codes. I love the matrix, seeing how there's letters raining and see how each point goes from A to B. But in reality, just a handful of people would like that,
Okay.
I think what is more interesting with people is the final result. What is it we can actually achieve with all this technology. And yeah, like we just mentioned it, it will be almost virtually impossible to do this by hand.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's an interesting perspective to distinguish between processes that take place behind the scenes, and you take an excitement, to move now into projects that are actually taking place in front of people or with people.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great, great insight. Sergio, are there any other innovation initiatives that are exciting for you looking into the future?
I'm gonna still following the AMR path, which is what we're working currently. It is very exciting because probably yes, the procedure or the operation that we are doing nowadays is boring or is just very simplistic, moving pallets from point A to point B. But this is just the first step, because my vision for this project or for this technology goes way more than just pallets. The pallets are the first step, I just mentioned, But then my vision is that the second step, we're going to start moving the raw material from a pallet flow racking system to the lines. That will be step two. So my goal with the AMRs on PNS or in packaging and receiving is being able to call us ourselves that we are the first warehouse in Houston that is totally automated, that we don't have no rolling equipment driven by a human. And that will be just a step one on the AMR technology. Currently, the limitations with this technology is that they can just work indoors. But let's be honest, Teslas, they automated work outside. So I'm fairly confident that by the time that we achieve a fully autonomous warehouse, we will be the technology has advanced enough so we can go into the outdoor. So my second stage on this technology, it will be to start exploring the islands or loading docks that we have. Maybe in 3 to 4 years, we can have that hybrid approach where we can do AMRs loading containers. And who knows, maybe in 5 years, we can have autonomous operation, meaning all the 50, 60 forklifts that we have outside being driven or not driven, actually automated.
Absolutely. And that's actually a great segue in my next question. So, from my perspective, with everything I've heard so far, the effect on the workforce is really going into a direction where we are going to remove the mundane tasks, the things that nobody actually wants to do, and automate those part of the processes and let our people take care of the higher critical activities. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. What will be happening is that people will have reskill and upskill. So that will be the chance of removing those low key operations of, like you mentioned, things that nobody wants to do. And then they can focus on other type of skills, which is more thinking, evaluating, as people that tasks that don't need to be repetitive all the time, going from point A to point B. So we can use the actual thinking of people to do something better than just repetitive tasks all the time.
That's creating more value.
Correct.
Good. Well, let's look into a different area. So a couple of weeks ago, I visited Modex 2026.
I know.
And you couldn't join me, unfortunately.
Yes. Hiccups of life. What is it that you see on Modex? What was interesting out there?
Well, there was a couple of interesting things. Obviously, everything around robotics is continuing to evolve very fast. This year, I found the area around digital twin has really gained some speed, I would say, in the industry. What is your take on that?
Digital twin technology, I think, is great. We had the opportunity last year to scope some of this technology for our yard. What I saw that the opportunities that it was gonna give, it was that we will not need to scan pallets at all, which it was gonna give us a little more uptime. Something that I liked about that technology is how day-to-day technology that we use on our phones can be mimicked in the workforce. And I say this because this will give us a GPS in a 3D format that it looks very like a video game, which people use. So I like that we're a lot of times industry brings technology into our normal life. Well, this is the way around. It's how our normal life start mimicking or merging technology that we use in our workforce. And the part that I like about the digital twin that we had opportunity to saw is that the GPS will tell you where to go with an arrow, a path, and everything, which I think is great because, for example, if I jump to a forklift and I start doing tasks, I don't know where pin AB 300 is, but the digital will guide you. What is the more efficient route? What is the closest one? So I think there is great value in that type of technology on the yard in our operations. And also, I have seen it that in remote parts, you build a digital twin and then you can explore how you're installing parts, how are you doing routes before planned. So I think it has great value because, for example, whenever you're doing a task on a high risk environment, it will help you identify hazards before you're planning it. So it will help you plan ahead. And I think that has great value.
Yeah, absolutely agree to that. And you mentioned also one thing earlier in that conversation where actually the technology is going to guide you through the workspace. You said you don't know where a specific win location is. So ultimately it's going to help you also to reduce training cycles or refocus training more on the critical part or aspects of the job.
Absolutely. I think that it will help lower the curve of learning by a long shot. I think that all this digital technology is helping reducing training time. Also, you don't need to memorize stuff because then You just will be guided. Technology will hold your hand and it will take you along the way until the completion of your journey.
So what I'm hearing, there's going to be a coexistence between the humans and the technology side.
That's the more exciting part about it. I think that I truly believe that within 5 days we'll see robots running around and walking around. And I just saw a note that a doctor on an ER automated the beds, so the robot come and take the beds and put into different floors. I think that within 5 years, the level of interaction human machine is just gonna explode.
Okay. It's exciting. With the way things are going at the moment, right? From an innovation perspective, what do you think is going to matter over the next couple of years?
I think everything is gonna boil down into using technology. I think that people shouldn't be afraid of it. The opposite, I think that they need to encourage it and they need to, like Texans say, from the horns on. Because if you are not using the technology, you're gonna get left behind. Because technology is evolving so quick that if you don't jump early on stages, by the time that you want to jump into it, then it's gonna get very complicated.
Yeah, absolutely. From a skill focus or from a skill perspective, what would you recommend for, let's say, younger people that are about to come out of school? Where should they focus on?
That's a very trick question because I think that also education needs a major reform. I think that way that we educate our younger generation, they want to educate them the same way that I was educated 20 years ago. And anything from 20 years ago is so outdated that I do believe that the way that we educate people, it needs to change and it needs to evolve as technology is evolving. The good part about it and the exciting part about it is that education, there's so much material nowadays. Probably you and I remember the time that there was no internet and people cannot not even comprehend now a life or a normal day in their life without internet. And because we have internet, there's so much resources out there. There is just, if you cannot learn something, it's not because there's no material or resources to do so, it's because you don't want to learn. And that's very exciting because now everybody can just put a YouTube video how to cook something or how to change a tire. And I think that having information available, it just makes everything so much easier.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Well, thank you much, Sergio, for this great conversation around innovation and automation. I really appreciate the insights. Is there anything you want to let our viewers know before we close?
Sure. I just want to tell the audience and everybody out there that technology shouldn't be afraid of. I know that with the AI race right now, there's different futures that can happen, but none of that has happened just yet. I think that we need to be positive in the way that we need to approach this technology as something that is going to make our lives better. And I would like to thank you as well that you guys have given us the opportunity to explore new technologies. And because I believe that this is what is going to give TALKE an edge in the future.
Great. Thank you very much, Sergio.
Appreciate your time. You too.
If you're in Baytown, we'd love to connect in person. Reach out at info.talke.com/podcast to set that up. If you're not in Baytown, we put together something special for you. We have developed a free visibility checklist with 10 questions to ask any logistics provider before you sign. It takes about 5 minutes and it will tell you real quick whether your current partner can actually see what's happening with your shipments. Anyone can download it for free now at info.talke.com/podcast. Until next time, I'm your host Alexander Boehm. Thanks for joining the TALKE BOUT Podcast.